When I first got signed to him, I actually was 9. A lot of people don't know that. I was about 9 years old, 9 or 10, and everything was going pretty slow for a while. We didn't do too much at the beginning.
Yeah, when I was 11, I used to have a crush on this girl that was 16, but I never got up enough nerve to say nothing to her.
When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15.
They used to have these guys, they used to call it the boiled egg test. They used to take a boiled egg, a raw boiled egg, and have those guys put their pants down and bend over and they stick it up there. The eggs break, they say they're not ready yet. They ain't put enough work in.
Lil Jerome seems to be finally exposing the shocking truth of what Diddy did to him when he was just 11 years old, revealing a dark side to fame that no one saw coming.
And they drove that little kid crazy. And that little kid did the Martin Lawrence, took the clothes off and ran out into the street and all of this, which they say artists do.
Lil Jerome's story is one that's haunted the hip-hop industry for years, a story he's finally ready to tell. But what happened to Lil Jerome behind closed doors? What did Diddy, one of hip-hop's biggest moguls, do to him at such a young age?
When I first got signed to him, I actually was 9. A lot of people don't know that. I was about 9 years old, 9 or 10. And everything was going pretty slow for a while. We didn't do too much at the beginning.
This isn't just about music. This is about power, control, and the dark secrets that even the biggest stars have tried to bury. Lil Jerome says he was Diddy's first real victim, and that everything from his career to his mental health suffered because of it. Financial struggles, public feuds, explosive confrontations, all fueled by Diddy's quest for control.
I was really young, so I didn't really have a girlfriend or anything at the time.
But just how far did Diddy's need for control go? Why was Lil Jerome tied down by contracts that he barely understood at such a young age? And why are other big names in hip-hop like Mase and the Lox now standing up to support him? Diddy was recently hit with a wave of new lawsuits, and lawyer Tony Busby revealed that the youngest accuser is just 9. This got fans on the internet speculating that this victim might be Lil Jerome, because Busby pointed out that the crimes Diddy is being accused of in these new lawsuits took place between 1991 and 2024.
When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15.
Since Lil Jerome supposedly signed his contract with Diddy when he was about 9, some people are questioning if he might be one of the accusers suing Diddy. But either way, we need to focus on the heartbreaking and disturbing details of Lil Jerome's life. The first sign of trouble came with the money, or rather, the lack of it. Lil Jerome joined Bad Boy Records as a young talent, expecting fame, fortune, and freedom. But soon he started noticing that something wasn't adding up. He claims that his earnings were being withheld, that Diddy was pocketing the royalties and profits meant for him. And it wasn't just him noticing. Reports from major music outlets like Rolling Stone and Billboard started revealing a darker side of Diddy's label, painting a picture of financial control and secrecy. And it wasn't just Lil Jerome making these claims. Mase, another Bad Boy artist, had already called out Diddy, saying he was underpaid and exploited. But for Lil Jerome, it was especially shocking because he was barely a teenager.
I felt like I did more than I got credit for, more than I got paid for.
So what exactly was happening behind the scenes? According to sources close to the label, Diddy controlled every financial decision. Artists were expected to trust that they'd be taken care of, but many found themselves questioning where their money was going. In Lil Jerome's case, he claims he was given small advances that barely covered his living expenses, while Diddy lived large off his earnings. If the money disputes weren't enough, Lil Jerome's contract soon became another nightmare. Signed at the age of 11, Jerome was bound to Bad Boy in a deal that he now describes as a trap. It was a long-term contract with restrictions that went beyond anything he'd imagined. In an industry where image is everything, Jerome's contract forced him to play by Diddy's rules, meaning he had little say over his own music or career. But it wasn't just the lack of creative freedom that hurt Jerome. It was the fact that he was given no choice. Diddy's contract reportedly limited his creative decisions, controlling everything from his music style to his public image. As the years went by, Jerome's frustrations grew. He was watching his own career slip away, while Diddy continued to rise to fame and fortune. His music, his style, it was all carefully crafted to fit a mold he hadn't chosen. And even when he tried to step outside those boundaries, he claims Diddy pushed him back in line. But all this did not happen to him only. In a resurfaced interview on the Quote Goats podcast, former Bad Boy Records artist Mark Curry opened up about the harrowing experiences of some young talents in the music industry, shedding light on Lil Jerome's unfortunate journey. Curry delved into the exploitative practices that drove Lil Jerome, a young artist, to a breaking point. For starters, Curry recounted Lil Jerome's heartbreaking story, revealing that the young artist was manipulated into singing a song about kissing a girl, an experience he was too young to comprehend.
He too young to understand what it's like kissing a girl and y'all telling them to say it like this, and they drove that little kid crazy.
The industry coerced him to express emotions beyond his understanding, ultimately leading him to a breakdown where he ran into the street while speaking in strange tongues as if he was possessed.
Took the clothes off and ran out into the street and all of this, which they say artists do.
What?
When they go through that one. And yeah, man, that's how artists go crazy.
Now, many people have been alleging that Diddy was probably trying to sacrifice Jerome, and that's why he started acting like he was possessed. Speaking of sacrifices, this is not the first time Diddy has been accused of performing sacrificial rituals on people. In 1991, Diddy was building himself up to be a pretty good popular party promoter. He had a knack for consistently packing parties over their capacity, showcasing his prowess in event organization. Concurrently, he collaborated with Andre, and things were thriving for him. During this period, they decided to organize an AIDS fundraising concert at a basketball arena in City College in Harlem. Unfortunately, the event took a tragic turn when 9 people were crushed to death. The gym, meant to accommodate a limited number, hosted over 3,000 people, surpassing its capacity. Despite the obvious risks, Diddy seemed indifferent to the safety concerns. His focus was on maximizing attendance, and the consequences proved dire. Many attendees complained about the stifling heat, with doors mysteriously shut and air conditioning conspicuously not working. At the time, these conditions caused such a huge commotion that ended with 9 people ultimately losing their lives.
City College was a deep experience for me. I was there, I was on the floor, I watched people take their last breath, regurgitate, and die.
Okay, you said a female? Yeah, a female.
It is important to note that during this intriguing phase in Diddy's journey, he was diligently crafting a name for himself in the industry. It's peculiar because numerous speculations emerged, suggesting that elusive higher powers mandated him to make sacrifices in exchange for power and fame. Now, you might be wondering how this season in Diddy's life connects to Lil Jerome's incident. Allow me to shed light on the intriguing connection. You see, Jerome is not the only person who has ever undergone such an episode. On May 7th, 1996, Lawrence ran into traffic in Los Angeles screaming and acting like a madman, according to sources who spoke with the New York Daily News. The Big Mama's house actor also had a loaded firearm in his possession. Lawrence was removed from the scene by law enforcement and hospitalized. Martin was yelling, "Fight, don't give up, fight the power," or something like that, a witness revealed. He was shouting some obscenities or something. The police were forcefully putting their arms around him, like trying to hold him down, because he was fighting so much and yelling. He was like a madman. I was like, that's Martin Lawrence. I couldn't believe it. Police told the Daily News that Lawrence might have had a seizure after failing to take a prescribed medication. But his publicist pushed back on that, saying in a statement that Lawrence had been suffering from complete exhaustion and dehydration. However, it was way deeper than that. In 2006, Dave Chappelle appeared on Inside the Actors Studio, where he discussed how toxic Hollywood culture can be. As he spoke, Chappelle cited Lawrence's incident.
Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me."
Yeah. He then pointed to his own experience. Chappelle had recently walked away from his hit Comedy Central series, Chappelle's Show, and fled to Africa, prompting rumors of abuse and mental instability. What is happening in Hollywood? Nobody knows, Chappelle continued. The worst thing to call someone is crazy. It's dismissive. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick. In any case, drawing parallels to the well-documented struggles of other artists, Curry continued to highlight the toll that the industry can take on individuals. The pressure to conform to industry standards and deliver content that sells often results in mental health challenges for artists, with Curry emphasizing that taking their clothes off and running into the street is a manifestation of the psychological toll many artists endure. Curry also touched upon Diddy's business tactics, hinting at the mogul's alleged attempts to manipulate deals by threatening artists with lawsuits and discrimination claims.
Like if they didn't do certain things with him, that he would threaten them with like lawsuits and stuff like that, discrimination and all of that.
Meanwhile, fans have been outraged by this recent revelation on Lil Jerome's unfortunate time in Diddy's record label. How can a child think about kissing a girl when you're only 10 and got a grown man violating him? That's insane. Can't help but wonder who were the adults in the room he fled from, one fan commented. A second fan added, they did more to that child. He saw something, was given something, or something was done to him, maybe all. And a third fan said, Diddy was the gatekeeper of the industry. For context, Lil Jerome, originally Stanley Jerome Childers from Akron, Ohio, is a male R&B singer who entered the music industry at the young age of 9. His journey began when he was discovered by Diddy and subsequently signed to Bad Boy Records, a record label owned by Diddy. Jerome made his initial musical debut on the Bad Boy compilation album, titled Nothing But the Hotness in '98. His presence extended to the soundtrack of the film Belly, where he contributed with a cover version of Stevie Wonder's song Never Dreamed You'd Leave in Summer. In 1998, Jerome unveiled his single, Too Old for Me. Although the chart performance of the song remains unknown, it secured a spot on the Bad Boy Greatest Hits Volume 1-inch compilation album. Following this, Jerome's track Dear Yvette was highlighted on the 1999 Bad Boy Entertainment EP titled Emotional. Another one of his creations, No Disturb Sign, was also released during this period. Around the age of 13, Jerome parted ways with Bad Boy Records, marking a transition in his career journey. According to him in an interview on the unofficial Bad Boy fan blog, his reason for leaving the label was, well, it's just a mixture of the growing pains and the pressure of the music business. I had a nervous breakdown and it was in Puffy's best interest to not keep the project. Jerome's debut album was supposed to be released in 2000, but also according to him in the interview on the Bad Boy fan blog about the album, yeah, I had about a good 13 songs ready for an album to come out before I had a little breakdown. Like I said, it was a mixture of growing pains, such as my voice and the mental things you go through when you go through puberty and so many other things. And then the pressure of the music business compounded that, and I had a breakdown. I just couldn't deal with it for that time. According to Jerome, he also had issues with his voice. He stated in the interview, yeah, the crazy thing was that the time when I started going through puberty and then my voice started acting up, I didn't have a normal voice change. Once my voice started to change, it didn't change normally. I was going through reflux disease also. So, there would come times when I would try to hit notes and nothing would come out. So it was driving the whole label and me crazy because we didn't know what was going on at the time. We first thought it was the voice change, but we realized it wasn't the voice change. I had actually gone through the voice change already. They thought it was allergies. And then after they realized it wasn't that, they finally realized it was reflux disease. In a past interview with Bad Boy Dog, Lil Jerome shed light on the circumstances surrounding his departure from the label. When asked if leaving Bad Boy Records was his decision, Jerome explained that it was a combination of growing pains and the intense pressure of the music industry. He revealed that he experienced a nervous breakdown and it was in Diddy's best interest to discontinue the project. To clarify, leaving the label wasn't his choice, but rather a consequence of challenging circumstances.
And the album just never came out. And eventually I did have a nervous breakdown.
Additionally, Jerome revealed that he started undergoing emotional changes, a common experience during puberty. These hormonal shifts coincided with a crucial phase in his career. As he was on the brink of releasing his album, the demanding schedule of consecutive studio sessions and photo shoots took a toll on him, exacerbating the pressure and growing pains. Unfortunately, these challenges culminated in a breakdown for him. Surprisingly, it seemed that Diddy, despite the circumstances, did not show much concern or empathy towards Jerome's struggles.
They say, oh, I remember that song, but when you think about it, when you're yourself, you don't really think of yourself as being famous. And, I never got to the point.
All the actors waited patiently for hours, anticipating Lil Jerome's return from his trailer. Instead, the dancers and extras proceeded to film scenes around Coney Island, while Jerome never made an appearance. Not a single scene was filmed with him. The situation reached a turning point when, reportedly, Diddy declared on the spot to abandon the project. The underlying reason for Diddy's apparent lack of effort became evident. He didn't see see the financial potential with Jerome after he fell ill, an unfortunate circumstance beyond Jerome's control. So without hesitation, Diddy swiftly dropped him. Diddy's decision may have been driven by a lack of genuine concern for Lil Jerome's well-being, as taking the time to ensure he was in the right frame of mind to release more music would have been a more compassionate approach.
He didn't reach out to me, and I would like for him to give me a call every now and then, but I think he's just scared.
Allegedly, Lil Jerome attempted to reach out to other individuals on the label, but none of them were willing to associate with him. Anyway, despite the industry's silence, a few artists who once worked with Diddy began stepping forward to back Lil Jerome's claims, sharing their own accounts of frustration and conflict over his business practices. Artists like Mase, The Lox, and Faith Evans, who were instrumental in shaping the Bad Boy legacy, have all spoken out, painting a troubling picture of exploitation and control under Diddy's management. For these former stars, joining forces with Jerome reflects shared grievances about the label that once promised them the world. First up is Mase, one of the most recognizable voices from the 90s hip-hop scene. Back in 1999, Mase shocked the industry when he announced his departure from Bad Boy Entertainment to start his ministry, Sane Ministries. He said he left the music world to follow God and stop leading people down a path to hell. Even though Mase shared that he had a spiritual awakening, some still question whether there were other reasons for his exit. After all, Diddy wasn't known for easily letting his artists leave their contracts. But despite the absence of royalties during his break, Mase managed to stage a triumphant comeback after 5 years with his album Welcome Back under the Bad Boy label. Nevertheless, he swiftly signaled his intention to depart once more and skillfully orchestrated an interview with Puffy. In the course of this interview, he formally sought his release from the contract, adding another noteworthy twist to his eventful journey with the label.
Hey, but son, then I come back. That's what it is, guys. You see what I said? Would you ever have something to talk about? You got nothing to talk about right now. Got something to talk about. No, this is freedom.
In 2016, Mase made a sensational comeback as part of a Bad Boy Records tour, wasting no time in publicly airing his grievances against his former boss. Shortly thereafter, he turned to Instagram for a live session to offer an explanation about the circumstances surrounding the incident.
When I see the hurt and the pains of other people on Bad Boy, that motivates me to say something so I don't be deemed as a person.
Despite moments of apparent reconciliation, the tension between them never truly seemed to dissipate, with Mase resuming his criticism of Diddy. This dynamic persisted even after Diddy delivered a heartfelt speech at the Grammys, demonstrating that their relationship remained complex and unsettled. Diddy said, "Truth be told, hip-hop has never been respected by the Grammys. Black music has never been respected by the Grammys to the point that it should be." While Diddy's words resonated with many musicians, Mase notably did not share the same sentiment. The rapper took to Instagram, albeit in a post that has since been deleted, to voice his grievances about the alleged unfair treatment he had endured under the leadership of Bad Boy's label head. "Your past business practices knowingly has continued purposely starved your artist and been extremely unfair to the very same artist that helped you obtain that Icon Award on the iconic Bad Boy label." In a candid interview, Mase took things a step further by disclosing that he had never received adequate compensation, even though he had been the creative driving force behind numerous hit songs for Bad Boy. This revelation brought to the fore his financial hardships within the label, further deepening the ongoing controversy surrounding his association with Bad Boy Records.
The beats, you ain't getting the money, you ain't getting the publishing, you ain't getting the respect. And I don't think you're like that.
No.
Then there's The Lox, a legendary rap trio made up of Jadakiss, Styles P, and Chic Louch. When they signed with Bad Boy, they hoped it would be a career-defining moment. The Lox's gritty, street-inspired lyrics gave the label a fresh edge, and they quickly became popular among hip-hop fans. But like Mase, they soon found themselves struggling with the fine print in their contract. The Lox felt that their deal was what they called a slave contract, where all the rights and most of the money went to the label, leaving them with little control over their music or profits. Their frustration hit a boiling point, leading to a now infamous confrontation with Diddy on a live radio show at Hot 97. The Lox openly challenged challenged Diddy to release them from their contract, sparking a huge public outcry among fans who saw the radio exchange as a David versus Goliath moment. They didn't just want out of their contract, they wanted their publishing rights and financial control returned to them. Diddy eventually agreed to release them from Bad Boy, but only after a relentless, very public struggle. Their battle exposed how skewed these deals can be, especially for young artists who often feel pressured to sign without knowing the full implications. Jadakiss, a member of the Lox, has been open about how naive they were back then. They thought signing with Bad Boy meant that Diddy had their back and would support them as they built their careers. But as they grew older and wiser, they saw that their careers had been molded to serve the label's interests rather than their own. We thought we had found a home, but really, we were just products. Those were Jadakiss's own words, reflecting the disappointment of realizing that their loyalty and creativity had mainly benefited the label rather than themselves. Finally, we have Faith Evans, a soulful R&B singer whose voice was a crucial part of Bad Boy's sound. Faith was one of the first artists signed to the label and had a close personal relationship with Diddy. Unlike Mase and the Lox, Faith has maintained a somewhat amicable relationship with Diddy, but she has also been candid about the challenges of working under his leadership. Faith has often hinted at how the business side of things at Bad Boy put immense pressure on the artists. She's spoken about how restrictive some of the contracts were and how artists at the label weren't given much room to make their own choices or steer their careers in the direction they wanted.
The fact that Bad Boy was such a powerful movement, and I really didn't know at the time how big a movement I was a part of. But I guess it certainly doesn't hurt, to have that under my belt.
Faith's loyalty to Bad Boy was genuine, but she admits that the label was more interested in building its brand than in empowering individual artists. She has acknowledged that, despite her friendship with Diddy, there were times she felt more like a face for the label than an artist with her own voice. Faith has publicly advocated for fairer contracts in the industry and greater transparency for new artists. Her empathy for Mase, the Lox, and now Lil Jerome isn't just rooted in friendship. It's from first-hand experience with a system that often put profits over people. The stories from these artists all seem to follow a similar pattern, reinforcing Jerome's account. They describe how Diddy's contracts seemed designed to benefit the label first and the artist second. And as more artists spoke out, the pattern of control and manipulation at Bad Boy Records became undeniable. With artists banding together to support Jerome, it looked like there might finally be a reckoning for Diddy and his label. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.